everyone.
All right.
Hello,
Now,
everyone. My name is Tressa, and today we are live having conversations with the sister. Now, this is a virtual talk available to view free across the platforms every second Saturday of the month, with a new topic and featured guest every month. As women, we gather to have much needed discussions that elevate women, men, and the community. Community impact is very important, and guests are invited into these transformative conversations. And today we have Natasha Wright and LaJay Rain. And ladies, would you introduce yourself? Can you
Sure.
hear me?
Hi. Yes. Hi there. Hi, Tressa. Hi,
Hey.
Conversations with a Sister. Yeah, my name is Natasha Wright. I am the founder and CEO of the Right Doula Co. here in Houston, Texas. I've been a birth and postpartum and unofficially a death doula for over 7 years now. I'm also a perinatal massage specialist, a junior herbalist, and a product maker. I'm currently training to be a midwife. And I love everything about it. Thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to everything we're going to discuss today.
Thank you. Thank you. And LaJay? Hey, good morning. We can't hear you. You unmute.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is LaJay Rain. I am a healer. That's the brief title for everything that I do. I'm a retired birth doula. I'm a retired midwifery student. I'm also an herbalist. But mostly women come to me for womb issues and things of that nature. My background is in women's health and women's studies. I went to school for that. I'm also a childbirth educator and lactation educator and counselor. And I am a mom of 4. 3 of my births I had out of hospital. 2 of my births that I had at home unassisted. So I have quite a bit of experience with women's health.
All right.
Excited to be here.
Thank you. And Tasha?
hey, everyone. I do many things. Today I am Tressa's tech support. I'm her virtual assistant. I'm just making sure everything goes smoothly. I'm an energetic wound wellness and sensuality coach as well. But I'm many hats right now. But I'm really excited for this topic and everything you guys are going to be talking about today.
Yes. So this is good. So let's start with you, Natasha. How did you get into the work that you do?
So I'm going to say that this work has chosen me. And to be really honest, I didn't really understand how much I've been a doula since I got here, since 36 years ago. 30, I will give it 33 because I mean, I wasn't a doula at 1 or whatever. But 33 years ago, I met my very first baby and I was absolutely obsessed with him. And I didn't know it was my cousin. And I didn't really realize that I was or anything like that for all those times, but a profession. And so since then, I've always kind of been the babysitter in the community, and everybody will leave their kids with me and all these things since I was little. So I just, without actually following the breadcrumbs, I went on to do CNA work and all of this and that. And while in massage school, I went to massage school a couple years ago. And while I was there, one of my clients who was pregnant, she says, "You really should be a doula." Never heard the term before. Never heard it before. Prior to that, I had got a message from my oversoul just kind of telling me that I should be for women. And it was just literally those 3 words, be for women. And I was like, what does that even mean? So when she mentioned being a doula, I did some research on it, brief research, found someone that I liked and respected and signed up for her class. And while I was there, it just started to click. So many parts of who I am just started to make sense. I've always been for women. I love I love and respect women. I blame my mom for that. Um, so it just kind of has become a thing. And so I love being able to see them for massage and being able to be there during their births and in their postpartum space. So it's just been kind of a progressive thing. And I think I just decided to lean into it because it really made me happy and it made me feel very whole as a person. And as a woman, to be able to be assistive in some way, it felt like, my mom wasn't, I mean, she's the strongest woman I know, but she also needed help and wanted help and was there during certain things. And we spoke a little bit about death doula work. And that was one of my very first actual doula things. I was like 17, 18. One of my friends lost their baby at stillborn. You know what I'm saying? At 9 months, I didn't even realize that I was being called into that work. So it's just like when you sit down, you can put all the pieces together, but individually they stood on their own as these markers of you could actually hold space in these spaces just as you are. And so I've been able to cultivate a really loving and nourishing environment for women to have to be pregnant, to go through their birth and delivery and into their postpartum. And, if there is a loss in the family or something like that, I worked in hospice for many years. So it's just been all of these sort of things that kind of come together. And I realized that life is celebrated, death and life should be celebrated equally, like in the same sort of essence, because they're both happening at the same time. So it's just been kind of a thing. And this mystic journey has always been something. So yeah, it's a beautiful work. I think yeah.
And when I listen to you talk, you seem so happy, like you're excited. After all these years, you're excited. And for what you mentioned earlier, you kind of talked about all these different things that you were doing, and we'll come back to that. And so it's just kind of like a lot of various things, but they all kind of tie in and feed into that one tree, so to speak. You got all these roots running out. And everything is kind of going to this one thing into the woman. Yes. All right. Thank you for sharing. LaJay, I know you talked about earlier, you said that women's studies, and then you had 3 children in the hospital and 2 unassisted. I'm going to come back and ask you something. Well, let me start right here. I'll ask you this first because I'm kind of excited to want to know what that was like. But I do want to give you a chance to talk about how you got into this work. So let's ask that same question.
Yes. So let's see. So how did this all begin? So as a kid, I'll kind of say and thank you, Natasha, for what you said, because I loved it. It was so good. So as a kid, I was always interested in reproductive health. Like I was the person who would, I'm looking at my daughter over here, lay down. I was always the kid that asked like questions about sex and how babies got here and stuff. And my mom, who is a retired teacher, my mom was always open, which I just appreciate. My mom was always open. And she would give me the breakdown, and she even would take me to the library and give me child appropriate books about this is where babies come from. So I was already like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is so interesting. And so as I got older, my first entrance into the health field was actually working as a pharmacy technician. I didn't even really want the job. It just kind of fell in my lap. I didn't even really like it. I'm not even going to lie. But I learned a lot because I saw people coming in all the time with problems that later in my early 20s, when I got into herbalism, I was like, wow, there's an herb for that. Wow, there's an herb for that. And there were people coming in here for that. And so from there, I learned about natural family planning, which is something I'm also very interested in. And I've studied myself. And so I learned about natural birth control, and basal body temperature, like charting the signs of ovulation. And so I learned that, and I started to teach that to I was using it for myself as well and teach it to other women. And then I made my own tincture, which is still one of my best-selling products for birth control, my Lady Nectar tincture. So with that, once I gained herbal knowledge and people started to correspond with me, That's when I learned about like fibroids and how to release them. And I learned about vaginal steaming and just all of the cool, holistic women's health things that women aren't really taught in America. Um, and then let's see. So then that's when I started my training. At that point, I became a doula. Well, I became a childbirth educator and a lactation educator first. So I would go into homes and help women breastfeed or help them with breastfeeding issues. I would teach childbirth education classes, and then I became a doula or a birth sister, as we were trained to call ourselves, because doula, the root word of doula is slave. It's a Greek word for slave. So I went through a black trainer, and so she was like, "We don't use that word. We're not doing that."
Excuse
But
me, did you
whenever
say slave?
slave, yes,
Okay, slave. Okay.
because I mean, you are the assistant to the mom. I mean, in history, I mean, you were kind of like the family's maid, kind of in a way. So that was the word that they used for it. So we use a different term in my training, but when people don't understand, I'll say doula. A lot of people, I'm sure Natasha can speak to this, they don't know the difference between a doula and a midwife and an OBGYN. So I have to like explain that to people sometimes too. So really I really delved into the health education aspect of women's health, as well as the herbalism part of women's health. Those are the places where I found more comfort in. When I was doing doula and birth work, which I can talk about later, I kind of saw a lot of familial issues that Black women deal with that are, to me, the root cause, or not root cause, but one of the root causes of the Black maternal and infant mortality rates that we have here in this country. And so from there, again, I really felt more passionate about the health education aspect and talking to women about all of the things, but also their sovereignty and their power that they have in the before, during, and after the birthing process. So that's kind of where I have settled currently, and what I teach and what I educate women on. Every now and then people will call me about doula work, and I'll be like, I don't know, because I mean it is a lot. Like, so I commend all doulas, I commend all midwives, because there's a lot of emotional space that has to be available for a lot of the things that go on in such intricate times of women's lives when they are expecting a baby. If they decide to have an abortion, there are abortion doulas. The process of pregnancy, the process of postpartum, when your child is 2 years old and they're acting crazy. I mean, there's so many layers and ways that women need support throughout that process of becoming a mom. So that's
Ooh.
what really pulled me in. And then when I started to have children of my own and experience things on my own, that just fueled my passion for helping women during their reproductive stages of life.
Okay, thank you. I had not heard of abortion doula, so that's something we can come back
Mhm.
to. Um, briefly explain the difference for women that don't know, because I want to go back to something you said that I want. Natasha does the with what she does. I want to ask a couple questions around the emotional piece, and yes, before the end of the show I want to talk about some of the things that we've seen that Black women may experience that other women don't.
Mm-hmm.
But briefly, Jay, the difference between you said a doula, midwife, and OBGYN. I'm sure there's some women that might not know that there's a difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the OBGYN, this person is a doctor and they are also a surgeon. So this person has got a 4-year bachelor's degree. They've done 4 years of medical school, and they've done a residency in obstetrics and gynecology. Obstetrics is the pregnancy gestation part. Gynecology is just women's health. Um, and so they can do C-sections. They can deliver babies. That's what they pretty much go to school for. They remove fibroids. They do all types of surgeries and women's exams, all of that type of stuff. A midwife, um, they're so try to make it brief. It depends on where you live in the United States, because there's different states that don't allow certain levels of midwifery. You can go to school and become a nurse midwife, which requires a master's in nursing, or you can become a certified midwife, which is a apprenticeship process. where you do over 100 births. There's a certain number of exams you do. You basically train to be very similar to an OBGYN. However, you do not do surgeries, but you're also given lactation training. OBGYNs are not given lactation training, so they can't help you with your breastfeeding issues. That's not their repertoire. Midwives are trained to do that. And they also they can do postpartum exams, they can do women exams, etc. Now a doula, they are basically considered a support professional. They don't do surgeries, they don't deliver babies. They are there for the emotional support of the mom.
Okay, thank you. All right. Excuse me. I think that's like I even learned some things about what you just said. Like this is so interesting. Natasha,
Yes.
Lejay mentioned something, and you do a lot with the women and helping deliver. I think you've helped deliver a couple births. You talked about she talked about the emotional aspect of it. She talked about there's a lot that kind of goes with that, and just the way the woman feels, the family feels, and all of those things. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know some women they say, "Hey, um, I want to do this, but is it safe? I don't know if
Sure.
it's safe. Maybe I should go to the doctor. Maybe I should have it at the hospital. What if something happens?" So give us, some of that to help women that have been thinking about it but don't really know. And then, like you said, there's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, that was so great, Lejay. Thank you so much. Everything you're saying, I was just like, yep, yep, yep. So good. Yeah, there is. I feel like any woman that is open to, I'm gonna say, having a birth on your own terms, whatever that may mean for you, right? If having a birth on your own terms is having a baby at the hospital, having a baby with medication, doing all the things like that, that's fine. If that is having a cesarean, that's fine. If it is having an unassisted home birth or a home birth or a birth center birth, like all of those things are on your own terms. Let's just start there, right? And no one has a right to like judge the way that you decide to birth your baby. It's your right. We're not here to do any of that. But the emotional thing is, I think it's natural when you're pushing anything new into the world, right? And a baby and all the responsibilities that come with that. And then also too, the input of all of your family around what their visions are for your experience, which is albeit super cute. And like, we love that you have a vision for how our bodies are supposed to be right now. But it can be really challenging for mothers who are already going through so many hormonal changes, so many logistical changes. Now their bodies are different. They can't walk, like they can't see anything, like life can get stressful. So being and just having people that don't always hear them, maybe in their life, even before pregnancy, they weren't heard often. And so now they're pregnant and now everyone's looking at them and all these things. It can be very, very overwhelming for women. So we as doulas, we come in, like you said before, just honestly trying to figure out what the baselines are of everything, right? Like who's really around? Do you have family that is supportive or not? Is your partner with you in the house? Are they distant? Will we ever see them? Things like that. What are the pain points of your experience right now? And how can we, through educational support, emotional support, dealing with the feelings, sometimes somatic. I forgot to mention I'm into somatic. So anything going on in the body, where are you feeling trapped? Where are you feeling not seen, so that we can change the not seen into putting not only a mirror up to yourself, but also one up to everyone else so they can see themselves in this experience and saying, hey, you could treat her a little bit better than you have been, or a lot better because she's going through a lot. And we get to be an advocate. And I love that we get to be that in the room of family, in the room full of doctors and nurses, in the room at the wherever we are. If there's a situation that's going on, we're able to knowingly intercede with our knowledge and experience to help support, sometimes mitigate, or other times completely disrupt and flip. I'm not going to cuss because I don't know if I can cuss.
We do can cuss on here. You can cuss.
things upside
Yes,
down.
you
And
can flip the
upside
fuck out of
up.
things upside down. Yes, you can. We cut. Yes, we keep it real.
Thanks. You did
Because
say
I was
conversations with
gonna ask
sisters
you
because I almost
that,
went there.
but keep going.
But like when things get a little rough, you know that you have someone that has had these conversations with you, that understands your emotional triggers and people that may be a trigger to you. And we really spend the time with our families and the mothers and all who are around the mom. See, I'm not the type of doula that's just talking to the one that's having the baby. Nah, everybody that's gonna be around the baby. Can we have a group meeting? Because I want to see how everybody's energy for the mother, because whether we acknowledge it or not, those things that are said in the first trimester are the things that start flooding in labor. If for one moment in the beginning, someone says something about something, you know, your baby's doing this, or something's going to happen to you, or you need to do this because I never had a baby vaginally. You need to go and get ready for a cesarean. And you told her that month 2. As she's getting closer, those things start to play out. What if something does go wrong? What's going to happen here? And then you're trying to combat what all the work that you've poured in. That's the emotional weight, right? You start to combat all of the things that are coming up with like, no, remember your birth plan, baby. Not just your birth plan. Remember yourself. How are you feeling? What's creating this anxiety? Who is it? Who do I need to fight? Can I hit somebody for you? Because I will. Because I will hit somebody for you. Even if it's not with my hands, you let me know what you're needing. Because we can create an energetic safety net around all of us right now. What's going on? I'm more than a doula. Okay.
Yes.
You got a warrior in the room. So
Yes.
like what's real tea, so we can get to what's needed for you to be well. Because one thing I know is that women will always birth where they feel safest. So if that happens to be planned it or not, that's where you felt safest, somewhere inside. You didn't feel like I want to go to the hospital. You didn't feel like anything else. You wanted to go where you felt safest. And I think that that's wonderful. And so even if they're saying that they feel safest at the hospital, okay, great, let's go. Because we need you to be at peace when you deliver, no matter where it is, no matter what our perceptions are of what you're about to experience or what you could potentially experience. We are here to make sure that you have it. Above our own experiences and emotions about your journey, we're insistent that you get to have your role, your birth, your ideal self. And we remind you of that all the time, not just once. We will go back, and I've had mamas, they're like, if I say I want to go to the hospital, don't listen to me. I'm just talking. So then I'll check in with them, and it's just like, okay, but where to go? I don't know. I just think I need to be there. Okay, cool. Okay, but what's going on? Is something feel wrong? Like, is something, because I trust a mother. Now, mom says who had a plan to have a baby, free birth, whatever she want to do. And she's like, we need to go to the hospital. It's less of a conversation and more of a, we're going. Let's go. That's why no matter what type of birth a person is having, we always have a go bag, right, sis? Got to have a go bag no matter what's going on. So, yeah. Hope
This
that wasn't
is
too
so
long.
beautiful, because I feel like when I'm listening to you, the emotions, I think about the mother's emotion, and then like you said, everybody else is around, but sometimes we don't think about the doula's emotions, all the stuff that you got to carry, because you heard mom, you're getting close to mom, and you got all the people around you, like you said, possibly dead, everybody trying to tell her what she should do, what she should not do. And then you're trying to be a barrier or a safety net for her. So that's something I never really thought about as much as about the part that you, as the doula, has to play in terms of, like you said, you have to be a warrior, you have to be strong,
Yeah.
you have to be tactful, but you also have to be assertive. Like, no, mom has said this, and then you also know when to give. Like you said, if mom says in this moment, I know I done said it, but we at the ninth hour, but I feel like I need to go. You trust her intuition,
Absolutely.
and let her have what she needs. This is good. This is really, really, really good. Um, and when you talk about being perinatal, does that mean you give pregnant moms massages?
Yes. So perinatal is a period. It's the childbearing period of life. It covers all variations of womanness, right? You mentioned
Okay.
earlier, abortion work, all the like, we're there for all of the childbearing experiences that can occur. So prenatal,
Oh wow.
during labor, and after, but even other, with all the variations therein. But yes, everybody.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm about to come to LeJay, but I was thinking because I heard somebody else say this years ago that oftentimes there's a work that needs to be done when mom brings the baby home, where she needs not to have to do something. I think they say in the African countries they may not do nothing for 30 days. Everybody come in and just
Oh my God,
cater
yeah.
to mom. So
It's my favorite
do
thing.
you do that, or do you feel like that's in it? Huh?
It's my favorite thing.
What did you say?
It's
That's your
my
favorite thing
favorite.
afterwards
Yes,
to
just go lay down.
okay.
I would rather one thing too, and they do talk about that in other countries that happen in other worlds. What we're fighting and working with right now is trying to apply that sort of logic and that sort of presence in the Western culture, because it's way faster over here.
Yeah.
We have very short windows of recovery after delivery. Some mothers don't even get 6 weeks before they got to get back to work, but that's a whole nother
Right.
issue. But we're working with very tight timelines to restore and to get through so that she can take her time. In other countries, they like 40 days, 60 days, some people, things like that. We love to have you lying in and resting. So there's like this like formula, if you will. 5 days in bed, 5 days on the bed, meaning like just sitting up more, like things like that. And then 5 days around the bed. So for 5 days, you're resting. Don't get out. We're coming. Just go pee and get back to bed. We'll bring you everything you need. On the bed, you're sitting up, perhaps on the side of the bed, moving around a little bit more. And this is just after you've had the baby. And then 5 days around the bed. So around day 10 or 12 or whatever, you're moving, and you're kind of moving just around the bed, not up the stairs and down and around. You're just in the bed, around the bed. That gives you 2 weeks at the minimum of restoration. So yeah, we love it. I would love to cook for you, rub your feet, tell you how beautiful you are. Let's talk about that birth story, and let's just keep on moving. Like while you're nursing your baby or feeding your baby, yes, we should do it more. It should be celebrated more.
Wow.
I think.
So beautiful. I think so too. I didn't really. So at the my mother-in-law is deceased now, and I'm divorced. But at the time that I was married, my mother-in-law used to say, and I used to think it was kind of cute. But I look back now, because she would say my births were really easy. So she said I would drop babies like cats drop kittens and keep it moving. And that was really what she used to say all the time. Like they just. And I understood, but at the same time, when I look back, I wish I would have taken that time to, just because we can don't mean we should.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How did that impact you though? Like not doing it? Like if you can sit back and think back to all the babies and everything that you've had, how did it impact you by not? Like what was going on for you? What did you feel?
I guess it could be worse because I wasn't working at the time. My kid's father was, so I didn't. So but I still and for me, I pretty much was like I worked out to probably 8 months, so
Sure.
I still was physically fit, healthy, and all those things. Now that's on the physical part, but the emotional part, I think I don't know what I felt because I didn't take time to I just kept moving. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So physically fit, I was physically fit, okay with it, and had the what it took to do that because I always took care of myself. But emotionally and mentally, I probably had never really, and that's a good thing, had really just taken time to say, what are you feeling? How do you feel now that you've got? Because at the time I had a son, and then after him came twins,
Right.
and then another son, then another daughter, and then 2 years later, another daughter. And I had, okay, so this is transparency. And then there was other things that was in between there. Like I had a tubal pregnancy, I had a miscarriage, and then there was other things in there. So those are things that I just never took the time to really fully think about. But
Yeah,
thank you, because emotional is just as important as physical.
sure.
LeJay, thank you so much,
Yes.
Natasha.
Sure.
LeJay, and I know I try to be as transparent as I can. At 62, a lot of stuff that would have bothered me and affected me doesn't anymore, because if I can't help and bring the information out and use my life as a testimony or whatever, or it's it is what it is. LeJay, so
Yes.
you had three births at the hospital, and then you had
No.
two home births. I want to talk about what it was like at the hospital, what it was like at home, and specifically, you said, "Hey, I was unassisted." So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes. So my birth of my little humans. So I actually had one hospital birth. And with that one hospital birth, I told my mom, I said, I ain't never doing this shit again. I was 21 when I had my son. He is he's almost 15. I was 21. I knew some stuff about women's health because again, I had my mom taught me all this stuff. Was really transparent with me. And then when I got pregnant, I was like reading. Like I'm a nerd, so I'm just reading. I got, what's the book that they give everybody? What to expect when you're expecting. And so I had that book. Um, I had another book by, I think her name is Kimberly Ayers. I hope I don't mess up her name. It's called The Mocha Manual to a Fabulous Pregnancy. Um, and I actually got to marry, which is cool. But that was the first book I ever saw about Black women in pregnancy. So I made sure I scooped that up. So I was just reading and reading. And at my mind, not giving birth in the hospital didn't even occur to me at that point. And so this is like
Mm,
2009. So I have the hospital birth,
okay.
and I'm like, I'm never doing this again because my birth was fine. I had my son vaginally. I had no problems. Give thanks. Everything went smooth. Um, I didn't like being hooked up. Like that's just not like I didn't realize I was gonna be like restrained like that. Um,
Hmm.
I had an issue with somebody in my room acting crazy that I did punch in the face during my labor, and I was like, they shouldn't have came, But hindsight is 2020. Um, and then I couldn't eat in labor because that's hospital rules. So that really made me just be like, I'm not doing that again. But I had a great birth. My nurse, her grandson actually had the same name as my son. So it was like all magical and spiritual. I knew that the ancestral mothers were there to help me be calm. My nurse was great, but I didn't like that experience. And after I had my baby, I knew about breastfeeding. My mom was breastfed. My grandma was breastfed. So this, again, I have somewhat of an atypical story from some women in our community. So I was encouraged to breastfeed, which is so important with the breastfeeding journey. That is one of the things I know family support it can make or break with breastfeeding, like on so many different
Yes.
levels, because it's very mental. And so my mom was trying to help me, but I still needed some help. I couldn't get the lactation lady in quick enough. Like I kind of had to get aggressive to get the lactation counselor in there. So once it was all over and said and done, I just was like, I don't think I want to do this again. I need a different type of experience. Really, I was like, I ain't having no more kids. I was like, this is just too much. I was just over it. But 6 years later, I was blessed to have another child. And at that point, that's when I experienced the familial pushback, which is ironic because my family is from a rural town in Mississippi. So my mom, not my mom, my grandmother and my great grandmother, midwife, wasn't no hospital, wasn't no doctor. Okay. And then
Hmm.
we were in the rural South, we Black, ain't no doctor. So there was an elder midwife who actually, that was what she did. That's what we used to for real as Black people. So that's why it's so disheartening when I see us get so westernized, like, oh, I'm not don't have a midwife. And people don't know that our birth rates were higher. Our rates of survival were higher when we had midwives and we went in the hospital. People think it's primitive and it's unsafe. It's like, well, more babies and moms are dying at the hospital or shortly after leaving the hospital today, with all the AI, everything, all the technology we have. So that's one fact that I was shocked to learn actually when I was in undergrad. I was really, really appalled by that. Anywho, so my second birth, I decided to have a water birth out of the hospital with a midwife. My birth went great. My son was 9 pounds. I didn't tear. Water birth, it was beautiful. I was so happy. And that was when I saw the power of natural birth. I didn't care about what my family was talking about because my grandmother, like, that's my ace boom, and she had my back. So I was like, what are y'all talking about? Like, my grandma got my back. So, and then when I of course, had my son, fine, everybody just kind of calmed down a little bit. But I saw the power of natural birth because I experienced a different level of euphoria after I had him because of all of the hormones that are present after you give birth that are subdued if you have an epidural, if you got crazy folks in the room, and if you have a C-section. So your body will cope and it will start to heal after you've had the baby, but it doesn't have the same response as if you just have a natural birth and there's been no drug interactions or interferences. And I just was like elated for like 3 days. Like, I just couldn't stop smiling. I just was so happy because of that hormone cocktail, which is normal and natural, and that's what helps us keep sustaining life. So that experience was great. But I did have an issue with my midwife a little bit because of religious differences. So that's when I was like, okay, well, if I have another baby, I'm going to make sure that my doula is not going to put on gospel music during my birth, because she knows I don't listen to Kirk Franklin because that's not my tradition. That's not what I'm practicing. That's not what my family is doing right now. But we live and we learn. So my third birth is my daughter that won't be still right now. I know she's supposed to be asleep, but she's not at the current moment. I had a midwife with her. I had one of the best midwives ever, Nana CT, out of Atlanta. She passed away 2 years ago. But everybody knows her. Everybody knows Nana CT. She's delivering my hairdresser's baby. Everybody knows Nana CT. She's amazing. She was very spiritual. She was definitely there for me emotionally in ways that other midwives were not, or other healthcare providers were not. Which made it different. And a lot of midwives are like that. Like, they will get in your business, or if you just be like, I don't know what's going on, I need to talk to somebody. The midwife, a lot of times they play a role of therapist or spiritual guide in certain ways. Which is it's a very deep job. I commend midwives 100%. So with that midwife, she was amazing. And I don't know anybody who does it, but she gave me 6 weeks of in-home postpartum care. This lady was like 80 years old. Ooh. She came to my house with her yoni pot, with her herbs. Okay. If the baby was crying or she had fallen asleep on the breast and I'm on the pot, she would pick her up and carry her, lay her down for me. I mean, she was all up in there. Okay. She was 100% like in the process of helping. And that was the first time I saw, to me, like what a real old school midwife was like. So she actually missed my birth. So it was actually unassisted. She helped my daughter's father deliver my daughter over the phone, because my daughter decided she came up through there, another 9-pounder. And I mean, my birth was like 90 minutes. I've been told the more babies you have, the faster they come. Well, that's how it was for her. She came right out. My mom and my daughter's father and my son one of my sons was present there at the time. And I was just stunned when it was over, because it happened so fast. But because there was nobody there to guide me, and my contractions started, and then labor started so fast. I really had been in labor all week. I had been in pain all week. So I knew something was brewing. And my midwife told me to call her when, I felt like it was time. She said she could tell she would be able to tell by the tone in my voice if I was in labor for real. And I was like, that's deep. So by the time I called her, unfortunately, due to traffic, and my daughter wanted to do what she wanted to do, her father ended up delivering her through instructions from the midwife. So she got there, she did the postpartum visit. She did moxibustion, which is a Asian body warming technique where they blow mugwort on you on different meridian spots of your body. She checked me out. She checked the baby out. And
Oh, we dropped her. What happened?
What happened? I had some audio stuff going on. I don't know if that kicked her off or I don't know what's happening. Sorry, y'all. Having some
No,
tech
that's
issues.
okay. We'll just Natasha, we'll come back to we're gonna come back to you and then we'll come right back to her when she finishes. So something that we talked about just a little bit earlier about you said 2 weeks, you gave somebody 2 weeks, and then she got 6 weeks. How amazing.
Yeah, I was loving that. When she said that, I
I
said,
don't know what happened.
that's the type of, oh yeah, you're back.
Okay.
That's the type of
Yeah,
midwife I want to be.
it's cut me out
Yeah.
twice. I don't know, but I'll try to wrap up my story. So so she checked us out. She told me she would be back in 2 weeks, and then she would give me 6 weeks or 1 week, and then she would give me 6 weeks of postpartum care, which was mainly vaginal things. It was more moxibustion. You know, she asked me how was I, and they do that, they get in your face, are you sure? All of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so it was, like I said, it was great. That was the first time I really got that level of nurturing. I've been fortunate enough where my mother was present for all my births, and she's mostly helpful, especially in the beginning when I had less children. But on a medical level, that's the first time I've really been cared for in that way after having a baby. And so that experience was great. Unfortunately, the next year when I got pregnant again, she passed away shortly after I got in contact with her. But I did experience some heavy bleeding during that pregnancy, and I was like, oh, because I'd never experienced that before. Like all of my births just went great. I never had any health problems, nothing, and I was just terrified. And so I called her, and she was just like, I know you got some cramp, but ain't you the herb girl? And I was like, she's right. I'm panicking. Let me get my mind together. She told me what herbs to take would slow the bleeding. And I still was pregnant. Like nothing changed. We don't know what was going on. They didn't see anything on the ultrasound. But I ended up having a baby last year. And unfortunately, like I said, Nana CT could not attend. And I was having some issues with the midwife that I had. We just really weren't meshing. So I ended up doing a completely unassisted birth. Dad delivered the baby again. And she actually had a little poop in her sac. So I'm gonna tell y'all, this is what I be talking about as my doula life, or as when I help women.
Okay.
So usually that's considered like, oh my God, 911. Baby, there's poop in the sac. She's giving birth and there's green stuff. The baby is poop. The baby's in distress. That can lead to all type of things at the hospital. And I did actually end up going to the hospital and getting my daughter checked out, but everything was fine. But I don't know what would have happened had I given birth to her in the hospital with her having that happen, to have her being in medical distress, as they call it. But she was fine. I didn't tear. Things just, went off with a hitch. So, I mean, that's been all my birth stories. So I kind of like was in the medical establishment and just backed away more and more each time, which was, scary for some people in my family because they were like, what are you doing? What if something happens? And I'm just like, people give birth in traffic. Like, things happen. So, I'm like, I'm protected. We good. I'm not going to give into the fear stuff because that doesn't, I don't know, birth has just never really scared me. I know for a lot of people that watch TV, they hear crazy stories. It never scared me. So I was just like, oh, we'll be all right. Like, people give birth in the woods, like, whatever. But that, for me, the more I got away from the medical establishment, the more peaceful my birth experiences have been. Less people in your business, less people touching you, less people touching your baby. There's just so many. I could talk all day about what things that go on in the hospital that I'm happy that I never had to experience because I just trusted myself and I trusted my body. And I just kind of did what I wanted to do. Like I said, my first experience, no problems, nothing happened, but I I felt like there were so many things that were out of my hand. And I feel like when your maternal instinct kicks in, you don't, what do you mean? I can't see my baby and they in a nursery. Like, I thought that was crazy. And my mom was like, just let him sleep. And I was like, no, like if he gonna sleep, he need to sleep in here. And I actually roomed in just because like it's a term now. You room in with your baby. You should room in. Well, back in the day, they took your baby away to the nursery. That's just where the babies went. I wasn't having it. So that was one of the things too that I just was like, I don't want to do this again. This doesn't feel right to me. And so yeah, I guess I was my own doula that with my first birth, and so it just went on from there.
Thank you for sharing. When y'all talk about trauma, because sometimes, and tell me what y'all thoughts are. I think that our babies get traumatized when they're born and they have all of that stuff going around them, slapping the feet, slapping the butt, or I know with my oldest granddaughter, she's going to be 20, 19 or 20, and I remember when she was born, there was myself, her 4 siblings, and her she called her aunts. So there was 6 of us. And we were in there just rooting for her. When my daughter was like giving birth, all of us was in there and we was just rooting for this baby. We was telling this baby, we love you, we ready for you to come on. And we had one nurse come in, stop. No, it was actually a doctor, stop all that noise, stop all that stuff. And a nurse came behind her and said, do your thing. But the doctor still kept coming and threatening to put us out. So they would rather have women screaming and hollering and all the other stuff versus have a whole group of women surrounding this baby being born and supporting her. Man, when I say we was like, come on, we waiting on you. We've been waiting on you. And I think it also helped her mom some. Because sometimes, and that was her first, and sometimes it can be scary. I think though, so when you talk about it, Natasha, like having, what do you feel like the trauma is of now? And let us make it plain. Anybody that watches this, we are not saying that hospitals are wrong, bad. We figured that, like you started off saying, whatever every woman says and feel like what she wants, then that's what
Sure.
she gets. However, there are some things that we've noticed, and that's what we're talking about. Not whether a woman should go or not, but what we've noticed in our own experiences and what you've noticed and different ones have noticed about having a home birth, or even the trauma that sometimes babies can get just from being in the hospital. And recently, thinking about what Lejay also said was that a lot of women are, but especially Black women, are dying in the hospital after having babies, and unnecessary dying because they can tell something is not right, and they're telling the doctors or the nurses, and they're ignoring. I think it was Judge. It's a Black judge. What is her name?
Judge Hatchett.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Hatchett.
Her
Linda Hatchett.
daughter-in-law, and they kept advocating for her. Her son and the daughter kept advocating, and the doctors blew her off. There was another situation too where I read not too long ago. There was another Black couple, and they told them that there's something going on, and they did not listen to it. It was too late, and then both of the women died. So
Right.
I guess there's 2 layers of things I'm talking about, and then I'll switch over to talk to Lejay, but which can kind of help us kind of segue into the question about the family, Black families. But the first question I wanted to ask you is really about trauma. Do you feel like that there's a level of trauma that maybe babies get in the hospital that they don't get in natural childbirth normally?
I mean,
And again, no, we're
okay.
not saying that
Okay.
it's that the hospital, everything is bad.
I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but okay. Are we talking? Okay, so this is how I really feel. Like how I really
Girl,
feel.
tell
Okay.
the word. Right. Okay.
This is how I really feel about it. And it's gonna be maybe a little unconventional. I have a feeling, I feel like babies are born not in the realm that we exist in, right? They're in like a delta
Okay.
state when they're born. So to feel as though that there's a trauma because of where they're born, not often. However, coming through the birth canal and getting here, how they're handled as they get here.
That's what I mean.
And I figured that's what you meant, but I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to state that first part.
That's what I
Because I
mean.
think that
Yeah.
so the
That's what I mean. Thank you.
aftercare, for sure, the aftercare of your baby can lead to a lot of traumatic experiences, right? They're not being met with warm hands or warm chest or anything like that. They're being met with hands that just want from them already. They just got here and everybody wants something. The only thing, what I've seen in contrast is like when you're at home or birthing or you're able to hold your own baby, mamas don't want anything from their baby except for them to be. So when you get here and you have all these hands grabbing on you, checking on you, doing all these things, rubbing your back like an insane person when you're already crying, I just don't understand. But I do feel that the people, the nurses, everything like that, are so not educated on what's going on actually, that they have no idea what they're looking at. They don't understand that a baby coming in calmly is not a problem. They just effing got here. They are not even here. There's a moment in physiologic birth that is so still. The baby may come out and cry once or twice, and then it's quiet again until about, I can't even put a time, but there's a moment when its soul lines up with its body in this, and it's like, they're surprised, and now they're animated, and now they're like, oh shit, I made it.
Yeah.
Like that. And you be like, yo, you made it. So there's a thing. So babies coming in calmly, and I've had dads even at home births freaking out because they're used to what they see on TV, which is the crying, the baby that's super crying. Like, for one, that baby is hella old. Okay, let's just talk about the movies. Okay, but anyway, so that's not the state often in physiologic birth. And so in the hospital, you're being met with everyone else's expectations of what you need to be well. And they have no idea what your wellness looks like. And that will unequivocally bring trauma. Because if you don't know how to help someone in the way that you're helping them, you don't know if it's truly helping them. Of course, you're creating a trauma. There's no other way around it. That's the only thing that's the only byproduct available. Hands that don't know, you're keeping them away from their mother. Now you're creating a cord of trauma between mom and baby, and they don't know what's going on with their kid, and you don't think that they deserve to know what the hell is going on with the baby that they just had because they had the baby in the hospital. It's weird. It's weird shit, yo. It's weird. And what I've learned, and this shocked me, and I didn't learn this to my first year in doula, as being a doula, that most OB-GYNs, most obstetric nurses, things like that, they have no concept of physiologic birth. They only know medically managed birth. And when you're doing medically managed things and a woman walks in who's 10 centimeters and pushing, and you want her to roll over and be on her back and do, I don't understand, because you have no idea what you're looking at. And unfortunately, the education system does not enforce that you do know what you're looking at, because you shouldn't know what you're doing with your own body. That's why you came to the hospital. And one thing I'm going to say before I sign off, being pregnant is not a medical situation. It is a natural
well, you're not stupid, huh?
situation.
You're not stupid.
Come on. You only need it when you
don't
need
lose your faculties. You don't lose your brain.
You don't lose your brain. You're so freaking present. It's the something that I don't have children yet. And I am so looking forward to the day that I push a baby out of this body, because I know I've done it in past bodies, but I'm talking about this one because she all the way activated. So I'm like, oh shit. But anyway, you can't push out a baby. You are so present. It's the only thing I've witnessed that is just a piece that you have to see it to know. But it's not a medical condition. It doesn't need that all the time. Now, if somewhere in the journey something happens, no one's trying to play superhero, even a doula or midwife. No one's trying to play a superhero. But you do inadvertently can create such a trauma that takes mothers a lifetime sometimes to unpack with their kiddo, because you change the dynamic of their experience. They don't have the nursing, and they're not at the breast, and they're not doing their thing, in that way. So it's a lot, but we are fortunate to be in a place now where you have people named doulas and birth sisters and birth keepers and people like that will sound the alarm and try our best to keep those moments close.
Oh man, this is so beautiful. Because when I heard you talk about, I never looked at it like that, but all these different hands. When this baby is born, somebody's coming, whether the child's getting circumcised or somebody's coming and they're putting a light or they're washing or they're doing all kind of stuff that doesn't maybe feel comfortable to the baby. Like, what happened? I know, I think like a couple, I don't know, probably within a month when I was born, my mom said I cried for 6 months. And she said straight. So we know that don't mean I never shut up, but pretty much never shut up. Sure. Like and my mother had, was it 10 siblings or something? And her father was living at the time, and my mother, and so she was just we was just walking back and forth with me. Just walking. I don't know if it happened during the birth, before I realized what the hell I got myself into when I first came or whatever. And then after 6 months of crying, I just kind of I think I was a little bit more active or whatever, but then from probably 1 to 6, it's like I was just this really mute, quiet child, to the point that my grandmother, I heard her say one time, I'm a maternal grandmother, something is wrong with that child, that's not normal, because I wouldn't talk. My mother said I would rather sit for 8 or 9 hours and play with a pot and spoon than be bothered with anybody. So I felt like there is some understanding on some level when we come in.
Sure.
Now, with that being said, though, that was just kind of like me dropping something in. I want to talk about, you talked about the umbilical cord.
Oh, my favorite.
Okay, talk about the umbilical cord, the placenta, and then I want to have you and LeJay both talk about Black women and the rate of how you feel like that we're being treated, or some things you would tell a Black woman if she's born to be cared for, whether it's in with the doctor's office, or whether it's with the midwife. And LeJay, I'm going to ask you the same question about a little bit about the placenta.
I want to know what LeJay thinks about the placenta too. Girl, I want to know, honey, because it's my favorite thing.
So get started, and then I'll have her. Yes, okay.
So the placenta is amazing. Like, first and foremost, I'm obsessed with it. I'm trying not to be as crazy about it, but I really am obsessed. So the placenta is essentially this organ that grows only for the purpose of nurturing a baby and bringing a baby forth. It is created to do that one thing really well. It's such an intuitive organ. It has these things. I know, like, they have like the pretty side that has all the veins and it's like super sexy. But if you flip it over on the mother side, the part that's inside her uterine wall, and you turn it over, you'll see all these like nodules, and they're called condyletons. And the thing so when I say that the placenta is intuitive, it is like neighborhood watch for your body, for your baby. There is no thing when you're having a beautiful, effective placenta that can occur to you that could truly potentially harm or create harm for the baby, because that's the first barrier, is what's happening between mom, what's happening, what's going to happen to baby as a result of what's happening over here. Anyway, the condyletons, if there's an infection, if you develop an infection, anything like that happens in the placenta, it will isolate the infection to one condyleton so that the other ones will pick up the slack and keep the baby healthy. Wow. It is phenomenal. And that, in addition
your face light up.
Oh, because it's the coolest thing. And then there's the amnion and the chorion, which are the 2 layers, like the thin wall of the placenta that keeps baby in there, it gathers all the fluids, all the things for baby, like all that. And it just keeps everything just in this tight little balloon, but it's malleable and it moves and it's like this thing. So like, just don't be afraid carrying a baby, because it's already got all these layers of protection around it. And then we flip it over and you see the baby side, you see the smooth grooves. I think that's how like maybe babies learn about their mama. Okay, I'm jumping into like mediumship, but like they could read the braille all of the, anyway. So, but the girl, so you do the things, And then there's this beautiful umbilical cord. And sometimes they're really long. The longest umbilical cord I've ever seen so far is 39 inches. Real talk. Baby was huge. Mama was very, very small. But the length of the umbilical cord and things like that, I'm not really sure what determines that. But either way, they're long, they're short. That umbilical cord has, I believe it's 2 arteries and 1 vein in it. So it looks like a little mouth. It's the cutest thing. And that's what takes blood to the baby, takes blood away, things like that, like keeps everything super clear. It is the tangible cord between mother and baby. It stays there until delivery. And some moms like to keep it attached in some style called a lotus birth. Most situations, especially when you're in a hospital, there is no possibility to allow the cord to stay connected to the baby, so they cut it. So there's this thing called delayed cord clamping. Some moms say, there's been science that has backed up keeping the cord connected to the baby as long as possible to allow the placenta to fully transfuse. I think it's like, what, a gallon? How much blood is it? Like a couple pints? It's a lot of blood in that damn placenta trying to get to this baby. And in the primality of it, right? Once a mother has birth and a physiologic birth, after the baby is born, they both rest. They both just rest typically. And they're supposed to, so that all the blood can transfuse and the baby can sustain life, oxygen, all the things before it even really takes its real first breath. But what happens in the hospitals, they go through and they cut, they clamp, they do all these things within less than a minute or two after delivery, and all that blood stays in the placenta and doesn't make it to baby, which can create and has created things like cerebral palsy, other brain and birth-related injuries and things of that nature, because the oxygenated blood doesn't make it to the baby in ample time. And I'm going to end this with this one story that my friend told me when she had her baby at the birth center. She had her son at the birth center. Everything was fine, right? So what happened is when he came, he wasn't breathing properly. He wasn't not breathing. It was just kind of labored. Something was going on. They kept the cord attached and everything. He didn't really take a breath or do anything until about 5 minutes later, y'all. Real talk. They had got a chiropractor in there. The chiropractor did an adjustment on the baby, found that the lungs was pinned underneath his rib cage, because a lot of shit goes on when you get in the birth, when you're getting through the little canal. They adjusted the baby. His lungs expanded and he took his first breath. If that would have happened in a hospital, he got his color, he was fine. Okay. If that would have happened at the hospital, he's a beautiful boy. He is big and thriving and all the things. But I just sit in that moment sometimes, and she has no idea how she has impacted my life with that one. You keep the cord on there as long as you can. Keep that connection with mama until it decides it's no longer needed. And then you go from there. Mm-hmm. But that's just my one story about the placenta. But I got plenty. So yeah, keep your placentas and take them home.
I wasn't going to say anything, but y'all got me fired up. Y'all got me fired to fuck up. I got to say something. I love what she talked about with the umbilical cord and the placenta. And I had 3 babies, so I had just had another one last year. She'll be a year old next month. Thank you. My experience was a little different. So I wasn't able to birth any of my babies at home, but I created that experience in the hospital. And that turned into me like really advocating for myself and having, I had all of that. And, some of them could show up, some of them couldn't. And then my husband actually turned into a daddy doula, which was like completely unexpected. It was completely unexpected, but it really shifted my births as well. And I wanted to check, because we were talking about the delayed cord clamping. I had all of my placentas. I made sure none of the hospitals got any of them. I'm in Maryland right now. I had my first son. I had him in Baltimore, like one of the counties in Baltimore. And I'm currently out here on the Eastern Shore. They had midwives out here. I didn't see any doctors. I was like, I want all nurse midwives. This is the best. This, I worked with what I had, and I was like, I'm determined to create an experience in the hospital and speak up as much as possible because, like you guys were sharing, you ladies were sharing, a lot of outcomes, like terrible outcomes, happen for us in a hospital, and so I put in my birth plan. I said I want my placenta. It don't matter what I do with it. I'm taking it. I planted one in the tree. I encapsulated the second one, and then the third one is still sitting in the freezer because I was going to do what is it, the placenta painting with it. But I was going to do that, and then I had a postpartum doula. Things happen, but I still have it, and so I found out a lot of policies of the hospital to see what basically I could get away with. And so because I was dealing with the nurse midwives, of course they were more holistic as opposed to just dealing with the doctors and dealing with, the OB/GYN. And so I was able to lay my course typing. I talked to them about it. Every appointment I had, I said, "Here's my birth plan. This is what I want." The nurse midwife actually went through it with me, and so I actually was able to go. They have like some hospitals have a app where you can actually look at the labor notes because I wanted to see what was going on as I was birthing. We're not really here when we're birthing, and so I saw that they actually did, the later course mentioned. They had the exact minute, everything. So I just wanted to share that because I know it may change it may be different for different states and where people are located. But from that experience, I was like, it's so important to speak up. You know what I'm saying? And if you have to be in a hospital setting, if you're not able to, be home. Like with my second son, I was starting to develop preeclampsia at the very end of the pregnancy, literally like at 40 weeks. I had lost my dad, my grandfather, death had happened, everything was just affecting me. And they wanted to induce me, they wanted to do all these different things. My doula was an actual nurse, and she was like, "You're fine. Let me hear what they're saying." I had that support, but I learned that if you have to be in a hospital, to make sure that you absolutely have a doula. I know sometimes, actual midwives not allowed in the hospital, but just wanted to share, like, that can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have a positive hospital birthing if you absolutely have to. I know some women they get completely scared and they're like, oh my gosh, but having that guidance, having that ancestral guidance, having the support really, really makes a difference. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yes.
Tasha, that's so cool. Such a cool journey. Thank you
Thank
for sharing
you.
that
And
too.
it was a cool journey. I kept thinking when I was listening to her that for women to have backup, like have a backup plan, that if you had to go to the hospital, things like she did, she had it written out, or hopefully they will listen. I'm sure there's been some women that had things and nurses kind of did what they wanted, but let's just hope that if we can just kind of have all of this, have a backup, but still the backup includes what we want. So, Lajay, I'm going to ask you really quick. Do you have any of your placentas for your baby? And from there, we're just going to have you and Natasha talk about some things that you would tell Black women if they were going to the hospital, or give advice or suggestions to help them if they were considering um, having a home birth. Because I don't want to keep us too long. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Be quick.
did you have
Okay,
any of your babies?
so I do not, because I kept, so the three that I had out of hospital, I kept them. Um, the first one, I think I buried it, or it might be in my mom's freezer. The girls, my younger two, I kept both of them, and we planted them, which is a hoodoo tradition. So we planted them under a tree, like we all prayed. It was like me, them, their dad, we all prayed, and we put their wombs or put their placentas together. We said that, they should, we hope that they remain close throughout life. We said our little prayers, and we buried it. The umbilical cord, I did want to speak a little bit about that. Man, when I tell you, you just gotta read out here. You gotta read. So
Yes,
if you have a baby, they're gonna give you information. If you go to a doctor, they'll give you information about cord blood banking, right? So this is to take your baby's cord blood and to put it and store it, just in case your baby has any type of mental issue, such as they're diagnosed with cerebral palsy, or they have a very serious concussion and they have a brain bleed or whatever.
Yep.
They can give them the stem cells from their cord blood, right? Sounds good, right? Even though it's thousands and thousands of dollars. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people wouldn't be anemic. A lot of people would have a lot of issues with like asthma, a lot of issues that have to do with your blood, which is obviously your life force, if they just delayed the cord blood from being cut. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars. It's already there. You already have the blood there. But they cut it to where you don't get the transference they cut it too soon, so you don't get the full transference of it. Some people leave the placenta on until it falls off. Some people just wait till it stops pulsating and the cord is clear. It becomes very limp because it's very strong. It's almost like a rope. Like you can't really cut. I mean, it's difficult to cut until it's completely limp, and then you can just cut it, which is what I did. And I do feel like it really made a difference in my children just across the board. I did make them wait when I had my oldest son too, because I had been reading. So, and my doctor was real cool. But I do feel like it does. My children have always read above grade level, all types of things. And I wasn't always a super healthy mom. I smoked while pregnant. Like, I mean, I've been stressed, had to bust out some cigarettes. And I know that's like, people think that's the worst thing ever. All of my children were born healthy. They all are way above developmental levels. And I really believe it's because of the cord blood. Like, I really, truly believe it's because I let them get all of their cord blood. None of them are anemic, like none of that. And I'm somebody who's battled with anemia. So I know how, how that can be dealing with that. So yeah, that's my story about the cord blood. Just before you think that's a good idea to store it into a bank that you really can't see, your baby already has all of that blood. So it really is a matter of life and death. And then last thing I wanted to say is the importance of chiropractic care, which Natasha started on with the baby, the mom, the baby, pregnancy, after pregnancy. That is so crucial for being. I really feel like that's why all my babies, like, I have them no problem, and I've been blessed and I have to be cut open, because they can help align your back and your hips to where it's easy for the baby to pass through. Like, I'm 120 pounds.
I didn't think about that.
Two of them are 9 pounds.
So good.
Yeah, 2 of them are 9 pounds.
I didn't think about that while you're pregnant. Okay.
Yeah, also for the baby after. So the trauma you were talking about, the chiropractors can help. If they got bent up in there trying to get out, the chiropractor can help that. And I mean, as Natasha said, it can be a case of life or death. Yeah, like that is really serious. And then what Tasha was saying about the hospital and her using what she could use, research the hospital. If you're going to go to the hospital, I don't care who you use, whoever going to be touching on you and your child. Research them, see what their you can find out their C-section rates at that hospital.
Sure.
There's some hospitals that are great, and there's some they have a very low C-section rate. Some of them is sky high because that's just what they do there. So you ask questions, ask for referrals, research stuff, call. There's a statistics office in the hospital. They can tell you all of their stats. So do all the research that you can get the best for wherever you are, whether you're going to do home, hospital, whatever resources you have, research, so that you don't, just get lost in the sauce.
So true.
Oh, this is so good. Excuse me. So, and I listened, excuse me, that's some great advice, LeJay, things that I hadn't even thought about.
True.
It's been a minute. I kind of feel sad a little bit, like sitting here like, dang, I wish I would have known to ask for the placenta and things like that. And also, I didn't have a lactation specialist. So my oldest son was not getting enough milk. He started getting jaundice. Mm-hmm. And so after that, I never tried to breastfeed anybody. I wish, though, I would have known. And there was something that really has come back to my mind. So I guess it really somehow is standing out to me. Is what you said, that possibly some of these babies that has had maybe cerebral palsy or had certain things, had they be able to get that last little bit out. It was almost like they came in and then something was cut. and like they didn't get the whole thing. So I didn't think about that either.
Yeah, it's real. It's so layered, and you have to know too. And also, like, Tressa, it's not. I mean, I've had these conversations with my mom and with a lot of women who have had their babies 30 years old, this and that, just to really work through just even like forgiving yourself as you're coming into new knowledge, just working through yourself and healing through like your own feelings about it. Even today can impact the line. Your daughters, your sons, whoever, like you can impact that whole thing just by finding peace within for what you did or didn't know, or when you were not supported. Like that's the generational, that's the ancestral imprint that we get to have right now in this work and everything that's going on. So my mom didn't breastfeed. I don't even know if she wishes that she breastfed, but it wasn't a conversation in the 80s. They wanted formula only. And they were pushing that. And so just going through and saying, yo, I forgive myself for what I didn't know. My baby's good, or whatever you have to say, whatever's going on. But I just wanted to extend that grace to you, that you extend to yourself for what we did and did not know. And it creates sometimes in me like a holy rage, I feel like, for the things I feel like were kept from us and our information. But I just wanted to say that to you, because you're doing a great job. And your girls are.
Yeah, my first son.
I don't know your son.
And my oldest son was born. He's the oldest. He was born in 1980. And I really wanted to, but you know, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. And
can I say something about jaundice real fast?
Yes.
Jaundice.
Yes.
Put the babies outside. Sorry.
What?
Just put the babies
Take
outside.
the baby outside.
Just, please, like, I know, like, I get it. We Black. We don't take our babies outside. We need to stay in the house with a baby. Like, I've heard all of it. Can I just say that as Black people, we do not naturally or effectively take in vitamin D well. Jaundice is a vitamin D deficiency. Am I correct, Leger? Am I tripping? Okay,
yes.
right.
Go ahead.
So put the babies outside. Leave them out there for a while. It helps with their circadian rhythm. It helps them begin to regulate for sleep. But putting them outside, don't be afraid to have them outside with nothing on. Forget the t-shirt. You don't need anything. You got me and you got the good sun. Let it bake into their skin so that they can start to process it out. The only way to get rid of the jaundice and things like that is to poop. So feed your baby and put your baby outside. So don't be trying to stay locked away in the cave. I know it feels great to be like in this like continual womb space, but just go outside with your babies. Let them feel the sun on their face. And if you're not in a place that has a lot of sun, I don't know what to say. Maybe get a UV light. I don't know. But it's just what our thing is, especially with Black families. It's very common that we have a vitamin D deficiency because we don't absorb, because we got melanin. Okay, but we don't take in the extra one. So taking vitamin D as a mother, as a supplement for yourself can help. Helping your baby possibly getting in supplements. But bigger than all of that is just the sun. Lots of rocks.
Can I piggyback off that?
Yes.
Like that is so. That I mean, what do you think they're doing when they put them under the light? Just take the baby out.
They gonna charge you thousands for the light.
And it works so fast because my oldest, he was starting to kind of he was starting to turn a little yellow, and I just was taking him outside. Luckily, I had somebody around me to tell me that. Just take him outside, and it's like in 2 days, like he was fine.
Cleared up.
Yeah, so that's super important.
Just wanted to say.
As far as with the jaundice, I was gonna say something about them eating, but it's eluding me. Maybe you'll come back.
Okay.
If you cross your finger like this is, like if you cross your finger like this and just keep going on, it'll come back. Real talk. Life hack.
So jaundice coming back all the way. It was something to do with wait, let me cross my fingers. It is coming back to me. Wait, what did you start with? You said something about
taking the baby outside. Eating. And I said, yeah, they have to get it out the butt. I mean, they have to poop.
Yeah. So the vitamin D. So what you're eating is super important. After you have a baby, Because especially if you're, well, even if you're not breastfeeding, because your skin, they're absorbing stuff from your skin. Like that's what helps keep their blood level normal and all that type of stuff. Like there's just so much that I think people aren't, you know what? It came back to me. There it is. It came back. But yeah, there's so much that we aren't told. One thing that I had the privilege of taking a class about Southern herbalism in pregnancy and postpartum. The title of the class is Grandma's Hands, and I think the lady travels and teaches this class now. She's a very talented herbalist, gardener, all of those things. And she says that the whole aspect of Black people not going outside after they had a baby was because during slavery and shortly after slavery, we didn't have central air, heating, cooling situation. So if you walked outside and it's a little chilly, you just had a baby, and as the old folks say, you all open, you could get pneumonia and die. But now most of us have, you can warm yourself in your home. You can flick something and your house will warm up. You have enough covers to cover your head and keep yourself warm, which is very important postpartum, staying warm. So if you got too cold back in those days, if you didn't have access to medical care and you didn't have access really to anything because you had just had the baby and you were in impoverished conditions or you were in enslaved conditions, you could catch pneumonia or catch some type of illness and die. So that's where that fear comes from. We have to move past that. But so that, well, unfortunately, that comes apart. That's just something that we've inherited as a tradition that's not based in where we are anymore.
Sure.
So that's where that comes from. So you can get outside after you have a baby. I know people say you shouldn't, but like Natasha said, we actually need it.
We need it.
It's crucial for your healing overall.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And so when you ladies talked about this, and then it reminded me of one thing. I'll make this really quick because to y'all's point, we kind of have a lot of stories or we don't question. That's what I'm trying to get. We don't question why we do things. And so I used to attend where Marianne Williamson used to teach. And one of the things she said, I will never forget this because it stayed with me. She said her mother and her mother's mother always cut off both ends of the roast and put it in the pot. And she was cutting off the roast. And she was really like, dang, we just wasting so much meat. And she said one day she asked her mother why. And her mother said, because we didn't have a big enough pot. So the point is we're doing things that maybe are outdated or maybe help, but it was for a specific reason. Like LeJay said now, we don't have to do that. We don't have to be concerned about that. But if we don't start questioning our why, then we just kind of live like we do. And I feel like when we question our why, that's when we're present to life. When we just kind of just keep doing everything like it's always, and I'm not saying everything is wrong, but I'm talking about question, like, why do I do things this way? Is there a better way to do it? Different things like that. And not that everything is wrong, but the whole point is being present to life makes us start to question certain things. And then it gives you a deeper understanding. Like, I didn't know what you guys ladies were talking about where that came from, but now I know. Because if you hear my mother talk about it, you hear my mother's mother and all of them, they all would say the same thing that you just told us. Both of you said. They'd be like, don't take the baby outside. Yeah. Put a hat on that baby's head. All of these kind of things. And now knowing where that came from makes a big difference. So, ladies, I am so grateful for y'all coming on Conversations, which is the name of this talk show, Conversations with the Sister. I always want to bring topics to women in the community because as we affect the community, whether it's men, the whole community, children, we have a big role. And we truly affect the community in positive ways and not so positive ways. So I would love for you to say where you can be reached and all these things, Natasha. Give any information that you want about yourself, and then we'll go to LeJay and then Tasha.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a really great and very informative talk. Like, I'm so glad. Have me back anytime, Tress. We can talk about anything, okay? But this was really great. I really I'm Natasha Wright. Again, I'm out of Houston, Texas, but I see mamas all over the world. And you can find me at Instagram at _Wright, WRIGHT _ Doula. And or you can just find me from here if you need to find me. But this is really good. Did I miss something? I didn't. Did you tell me to close with something else, Tressa? I'm sorry.
Anything that you want to say?
Oh, okay. Listen. Okay, so real quick. The whole point about having a doula isn't to exclude anyone in your life. Is to have people around you or persons in your life that can include all the things that are important to you. Everything that matters, everything like that. We're there to help you navigate safely the journey that is in your heart to have. And so for your birth, for your postpartum, for any experience that goes on, there are such a wide variety of doulas now. The term doula, all the things are out there. If you need somebody to help you in a life transition, find a doula that resonates with you. Find a midwife and a birth support team that resonates with you, that looks like you, if that's important to you, that can hear you and all those things like that. Like we are our own safety nets. We have to understand that we do this together. We have to be collaborative. We have to be willing to do that. This is community work. So we are going to, we know a lot. We may not talk a lot about all the things, but we know a lot. So stay connected to us, support us where you can. And and if there's anything I can do or whatever to help, please let me know. And I'm there.
Okay. And is there a phone number that they can reach you at? Office number,
Never put it. Yes. So you can reach me at 346-298-2428. Yeah. And you can find me there. My website is therightdoula.com. And my information is on there as well. Again, it's WRIGHTDOULA.com, The Right Doula. And if you need me by emails, Natasha@therightdoula.com. Just ask Tressa. She'll put you in the right place too if it comes out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this was beautiful. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, Lajay, tell us anything, parting words, and how we can reach you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Tressa. This was good. I could talk about women and coochies and stuff all day long. Like, that's my stuff. So yes, I help them with all of those types of things: PCOS, infertility, put that in quotation marks, fibroids. I've birthed my own fibroids. We talked about all my births, so I'm here. And so my specialty is herbalism and dealing with the metaphysical roots of disease. So that's what I do. And you can find me at glamalchemy.com. And there's a contact us part on my website where an email will come right to me if you type in what you need there, if you don't find it on my website. But yeah, this was a great talk, and I'm happy that I was able to be here.
I am so excited that both of you said yes. Tasha, you want to give them information about you?
Me, Tasha.
You, girl.
Okay. What did you need information on?
Yes, Tasha.
Okay. What information do you need?
How women can find you and what you do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm on Facebook as Tasha Manuel Jones. I'm getting back onto social media. Mainly on Instagram as Home Womb Honey, and you can see me more active in my stories. So you can just follow me there. I also have a YouTube channel that's called Home Womb. So that's home and then womb. I've been making affirmation videos, trying to make some free resources for women to really balance their sacral chakra, their womb energy, and things like that. So that's what I'm currently doing. I don't have my website up for like my virtual assistant services, but if anybody's interested in that, really for all the things that I do, you can send me a DM through Instagram, or you can send me a DM through Facebook.
Yeah.
And the honeycomb, did I say that right?
Yeah, the honeycomb. I'm sorry. I have a group called the Honeycomb where women just an intimate space that's outside of mainstream platforms for you to tap into womb healing and sensuality, because those two things go hand in hand. Sensuality is about body presence. And I'm right now I'm only offering services to my Honey Clover members. Subscriptions to join is just as cheap as Netflix, $15 a month. I do offer a trial, a 3-day trial, which also gives you a discount if you want to continue to be a member. I have plenty of resources and content there. I've actually moved a lot of my social media content on into my group. So I have a landing page for that. If anyone's interested, I can send the link. The landing page tells you everything you need to know if that's a group that's right for you. But again, I like talking to people. I like being relatable and personable. So have a conversation with me. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram. Instagram is Homeroom Honey. And again, my name on Facebook is Tasha Manuel Jones. And we can go from there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yay.
And I am Tressa Simmons with Radical Transformation with T. That is actually my company. I have two businesses under there, Transformative Conversations and Solutions, which is more of the coaching end of things. Coaching on a pot, because I'm a vaginal steamer, so I call it coaching on a pot. Um, and under there, also tomorrow we're having Falling Naked, where we take a sister and celebrate her. Like, it's named after my book, where we really just kind of take off all the facades, all the everything, whatever it took a woman to get to where she is, and we celebrate her. So that's tomorrow at the same time. And the link is on Facebook, and I can also put it. Tasha, can you put the link here too? My other business is Centrally Empowered Woman. And with that, I would call myself, because I really feel like I am a pleasure advocate. Sometimes I use the word coach, but I'm definitely an advocate that women of all ages understand that it's time, as Tasha talked about, becoming present in our bodies, living from our senses, and doing all the things that make us thrive, feel alive in raw form, just being authentic. And so those are two of the things. Also, I think, because I'm trying to, because you won't see us again in this group to next month. There is at the end of the month becoming a launch for Tressa's Pleasure Chest and for Conversation Pieces Boutique. So if you all can catch me next week, we're gonna be going live on some of the things that's store, in the boutique, in the store, online store. So I think that that's it. I hold retreats, and I have one coming up in October for women. I hope to see y'all there. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I think that that's me. Tasha put a lot of the information in here. It's so many. For Radical Transformation, she has put that, and all the places where you all can find me is located here. I'll do better, I swear, next time. I'm just like, one of the things I love about being um, walking in our divinity, we also get to walk in our humanity. And I get to always and still be like, hey, y'all, part of me is still figuring out all this stuff about all this stuff. So thank you. You shake your head like you understand what I'm saying. With
I
that being
do understand.
said, thank you. I really appreciate that, girl. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. But I love it. To everybody who watched the show today, thank you. To everybody who's come back and watched the show, thank you. Um, and check out LeJay, check out Natasha, because they gave so much information that even if you can't, if you want them to come to your state, or maybe they can give you someone that lives in your state, resources. That whole thing about resources, because that's one of the things I want us to be. It's really a good resource for each other. I am so grateful today. I really, really, really say thank you, Natasha, and thank you, LeJay. This has been a great experience, even for me. All right, we're signing off, and it's just been a beautiful time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys.